YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my review for Dragon Ball Daima Episode 5. As mentioned last week, this will probably be my last week regularly covering this. I do plan on covering the whole season, series, whatever you want to call it, once it's done, and I might do some check-ins if some big stuff happens, like if we get a new power-up, or a significant twist happens, or they use those fusion bugs or something, but like I said, it's kind of had a lack of interest with this, so I kind of want to just sit back and enjoy it, but I do plan on talking about it at least a couple more times in the future, because even though the week-to-week reviews are kind of repetitive in terms of the stuff I have to say a lot of the time, I have been enjoying talking about Dragon Ball in this series in particular. So this week we did finally fully introduce our last member of kind of like Team Demon Realm. We have the Panzy character who appeared last week. We get to know who she is. We find out she's actually royalty from the kingdom that they're heading towards, and she joins them on their adventures, and you kind of bring together the team we've seen in the opening and all that stuff. And I like her well enough, no real complaints or anything, but she doesn't really stick out as a favorite or anything so far. I'll say that I do like the group we have there. I think it's a fun dynamic. I do wish, as I said last week, that we were checking in sometimes with everyone back on Earth. They did send for somebody to get them because of that like code thing where they don't have the code to get in. I assumed that was going to lead to some sort of comedic scene or conflict for the B team when they got there, but now it's just leading to this other guy going to pick them up. Like, I kind of wish there was a B plot that had like a scene in an episode where maybe they're having trouble building the ship and it's kind of like a running bit, and then by the time they finally get the machine going after all their trials and tribulations, this guy just shows up to pick them up. But anyway, I just wish we would checked in a little bit. Like, I know it's only been 5 episodes. Like, when I sit there and think about it, I'm like, we're not that long into the series. Really, it's only been 3 episodes since we haven't seen anybody because the whole cast was in the first 2 episodes, but it just feels kind of weird to only be focusing on these characters and not see anything else from everyone else to a degree. I just kind of wish we would have seen something. But anyway, when we arrive to the kingdom, we do find out a couple things. I mean, we do meet this king character that wants to effectively overthrow Goma because he believes he's evil. And, well, he is. I mean, who knows? Maybe this guy has nefarious motives. But speaking of nefarious motives, we do find out that it was Glorio whose name Goku keeps getting wrong, which is really funny. But I've heard it both ways. But we do find out it was actually Glorio that approached the king, saying he could go find warriors that could defeat Goma because he knew someone that was strong enough to defeat Buu. And that plays into Supreme Kai's suspicions of him. That's obviously probably going to amount to something. Usually when characters are suspicious of something like that, it amounts to something. I am just curious what it'll be, though. It's very possible that he is hiding something, but maybe it's not nefarious. Like, maybe he needs Goma taken down for a certain reason. Maybe he does have a sort of selfish or nefarious purpose, but he winds up bonding with our characters. Who knows? I did have kind of a crazy theory, though, that maybe he's going to wind up being the big bad, like the final big bad of this series, just because right now, obviously, we have the main villain being Goma, but unless he gets some sort of crazy transformation, or we just do something completely different, he doesn't feel like the final Dragon Ball big bad type of fight. And we obviously also have those Guardians for the Dragon Balls, but that feels more like a stepping stone type of thing. It's possible that Supreme Kai's brother will have a fight with Goku, but I'm almost wondering if Goma will end up being the secret final villain that we get the classic kind of final Dragon Ball fight with. But who knows? That's obviously something that they're building up, though, is the suspicions of Glorio, so we'll have to see. The other like major thing that happened in this episode was, the king wanted Goku to show off his strength, and when he does like an exhibition match, and again, the animation in this has been a ton of fun to watch. He briefly taps into Super Saiyan. Now, I am curious about the power scaling in this. Obviously, we have touched on that Goku's getting used to his size, and like his flight equilibrium and all that stuff, but I'm curious about his power. Like, they do keep talking about how he's strong enough to beat Buu, but outside of him adjusting to like size and stuff, is he as strong as he was when he fought Buu, or did turning him back to a kid like lessen that, or is it kind of a calibration thing, kind of like trying to learn how to fly again, where like he can access it but he has to learn how to use the body again? I'm not sure. Like, I don't remember how GT went because I only saw the Lost episodes, which is effectively actually the first arc for GT once, because I started from the Baby Saga because that's where we started here, and I just remember Goku seeming as strong as he was, going full Super Saiyan 3 and everything. They haven't really touched on that. When we first saw the trailers, when I assumed it was going to take place during the Super times, seeing Super Saiyan, I thought maybe there was going to be a story about they're too weak to assume the God forms, and that's why we got Super Saiyan. So I'm curious if they'll address that, if ever, just because when he transformed, I was curious, like, did he tap into it briefly just to kind of show them a taste of the power, but obviously he didn't need to go full Super Saiyan to take on a bunch of henchmen, or is he not quite used to it yet? Maybe I'm thinking too much about that, but I'm just honestly curious. The only other thing I wanted to touch on was there's a brief moment where when we meet Panzy, she's like, oh, where are you from? You don't have pointy ears. And they lie about him being from the second demon realm. And then, of course, they find out later they're not. But I did see an interesting theory when they talked about pointy ears, about how when Saiyans transform into the Azuru form, they do get pointy ears. If there's going to be anything to that, especially with, Glorio maybe was just lying to keep their cover, but I'm not saying that the Saiyans are from the demon realm, but I'd be curious if maybe there's a connection, or if there's some sort of descendants, just because they did make a big deal about the ears. Again, maybe something I'm reading too much into, but something to think about. But yeah, I enjoyed this episode, but same thoughts as all the other weeks. Enjoying the series just fine. Nothing that's blowing my mind, but I've been just enjoying having Dragon Ball back. I think I am going to stick with the subs, though, and just kind of check in every now and then and rewatch some scenes or episodes with the dubs when they're fully out, because I want to hear that classic Goku voice. But I want to be able to keep up with this week to week, and also I really have been enjoying, probably the most I've enjoyed, like, proper Goku voice for, like, the Japanese voice acting. Like, I said the most I enjoyed it before was Goku Black, but just for proper Goku character, this is the most I've enjoyed him in that version, so I think I'm just going to stick with it. But what did you guys think of the episode? What are your theories about what's going to happen with Glorio? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Awesome Writer, signing out.